Democratic Senator from Connecticut, Senator Richard Blumenthal, is on Capitol Hill. Senator, we know you just finished addressing the media and reporters there about what just happened, the gun measures there failing in the Senate, failing to get this passed. We've seen these pushes also for quite some time. You mentioned we are not giving up, we are not going away. What do you mean?
We are not going to give up this effort for common sense, sensible measures to keep guns out of the hands of terrorists, stop them from buying firearms, particularly assault weapons, to commit these horrendous mass killings, and to extend background checks and other common sense, sensible measures to stop gun violence. What's changed really is, and what gives us such determination, is the link to terrorism. And we see that violent extremists abroad are inspiring and supporting the same phenomenon here of killings and terror, and we need to stop ISIS and other extremists abroad from fostering that movement here.
And Senator Cornyn is basically saying that the gun measures that were there in place would not stop a mass shooting like the one that happened in Orlando. Your thoughts?
The amendment that we proposed today would have in fact stopped that purchase by the killer in Orlando in all likelihood, because there would have been a list. The FBI could have stopped the purchase immediately, and the Cornyn amendment actually would make it more difficult to stop that terrorist from buying a gun than to arrest him. So there is a clear disconnect between what the American people want, which is no fly, no gun. If you're too dangerous to board a plane, you should be deemed too dangerous to buy a gun. And what we've seen on the Senate floor today, there is a clear disconnect, and my colleagues are going to have to look at themselves in the mirror, and they're going to have to look at their constituents this November or afterward.
And of course, Senator, we won't forget, we will never forget what happened in the state that you represent, the Sandy Hook massacre there. So many young lives lost. When so many Americans thought at that point we would see some type of gun control in this country. And then you have the more recent Orlando mass shooting. What will it take? What will it take?
You know, I've just come from the floor of the United States Senate, and what vividly rings in my mind is what I heard 3 years ago when we failed to pass those measures. Shame on you. Shame on you is what the American people should be saying to the Senate, because it's failing to do its job. It's complicit by its inaction. What will it take? I think the voters need to act and show they have had enough. We've had enough of inaction and complicity by Congress, and this election could be a real turning point. The American people have the opportunity to turn the page and make Orlando a tipping point, and I hope that they will.
And a final statement, a final thought or question for you. Senator Bill Nelson of Florida also spoke at the press conference that you guys were at. He said, sadly, the NRA won again. How much power does the NRA have over Congress and the Senate?
The NRA's power is greater than it should be based on objective fact. And my Republican colleagues are scrambling now because they know that the American people are demanding change, and yet they remain in the grip of the NRA. But the NRA's grip can be broken and must be altered, and it will take, very simply, citizen activists doing what Newtown Alliance and other organizations like Sandy Hook Promise and American First Responsible Solution and Everytown and a lot of other grassroots organizations to mobilize and galvanize, as our filibuster did last week. We have been deluged with calls. The American people are rising up.
Presidential candidate Donald Trump says these are two separate issues, terrorism and gun control. How do you respond to his remarks?
Terrorism is interconnected and intertwined with gun violence. The Orlando shooter pledged his allegiance to ISIS, and ISIS in turn took responsibility. ISIS is inspiring and supporting the violent extremists in this country, and we are, in effect, enabling them by the failure to keep guns out of the hands of terrorists. If somebody is on a terrorist watch list or a no-fly list, or is found to be engaging in terrorist activity and can still buy a gun, shame on us for permitting them to do so. These issues are not separate and distinct. They have to be seen as part of the same terrorist effort to undermine our nation. We need to fight ISIS abroad. We are at war with ISIS, and we need to take the fight to ISIS abroad. But we also need to harden our defenses at home, because ISIS will exploit the gaps and weaknesses in our law.
All right, Senator Richard Blumenthal, we know it's been a long day for you. Thank you so much for taking time out to speak with CBSN. Thank you.
Thank you so much.